Donald Trump just got body slammed again. First by David Bautista in a classic takedown.
A lot of men seem to think that Donald Trump is some kind of tough guy. He's not. I mean, look at him. He wears more makeup than Dolly Parton.
And then by Tanya Chutkan in a legal takedown. And even though Chutkan may be more serious than Bautista, she was nonetheless just as funny, extending Trump's losing streak in court to a perfect 0 record. In fact, it makes me think, what do Trump and the Minnesota Vikings have in common? Well, as any good Packers fan can tell you, every time Minnesota makes it to the Super Bowl, they lose. And every time Trump shows up in court, he loses. Only this time, he didn't just lose. Tanya Chutkan humiliated him. I'm going to show you Chutkan's ruling in just a second, but first, let's establish what these rulings are all about. You remember that this totally bought and paid for Supreme Court ruled that Trump has total immunity as president for official acts, creating a ruling out of something that doesn't exist in the Constitution. And then they ruled they have partial immunity for non-official acts. Based on their ruling, the court established new procedures to require that prosecutors must first get a ruling as to whether a charge meets the threshold for determining that an action was not within the duty of the office of the president. The Supreme Court thought they were giving Trump a get-out-of-jail-free card, but actually, what it's done is make Jack Smith publicly present the evidence against Trump right in public before the election. Smith presented his evidence, and it was devastating. Trump's team then issued counter-arguments as to why the things Trump is accused of were actually official acts and therefore immune. Now, the first argument Trump's lawyers tried to make came right out of the Costanza principle.
Jerry, just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Trump's team tried to argue that his January 6 actions were motivated not so much from the Stop the Steal movement that he himself created, but rather because he was worried about foreign interference in our elections. Judge Chutkan laughed him out of court, writing, "There is no reason to believe that Trump's purported worries about foreign influence in the 2020 election animated his concerns at the time," adding that Trump's theories that such evidence would be relevant to his criminal case do not withstand scrutiny. She then went on to throw Trump's 2020 statements right back in his face, writing, "Trump's allegations of fraud revolved around his false claims that large numbers of dead, non-resident, non-citizen, or otherwise ineligible voters had cast ballots, or that voting machines had changed votes." She then concluded that Trump's claims of election fraud were totally unrelated to foreign cyber attacks. Now, the thing that you have to appreciate about Chutkan making rulings is that she has to get into Trump's state of mind on January 6th, and that is no easy task. In addition to being a grifter and a serial liar, Trump has the brain of your average squirrel. You just know she's reading up on the cognitive abilities of the average fourth grader while they are taking too much Adderall. But Trump's overwhelming concern with foreign influence was not the only argument that Trump's team of cracked lawyers made. They actually tried floating the false flag conspiracy theory of January 6th, and Chutkan was having none of it. She wrote that the Trump team's filing on this issue does not provide anything more than speculation that there even were any such undercover actors at the Capitol on January 6th, and there was no reason to compel the government to search for and produce that information. But Chutkan was not done humiliating Trump's team. She wants to make clear to the American public that in her courtroom, evidence and reality are what matter, not public opinion, not election and campaign concerns, and definitely not the complete and utter nonsense from investigations that Republican congressmen have been undertaking. She absolutely slammed Trump's team for requesting documents and communications by members, relatives, or associates of the Biden administration. Chutkan wrote that the sweepingly broad and undefined request utterly fails to meet the rigorous standard required for Trump to be able to make a selective prosecution claim. Utterly fails instead of fails. That is judge speak for where on earth did you go to law school and how on earth did you ever pass the bar exam? In the end, Chutkan is trying to make clear that Trump's team is merely playing games while they wait out the clock, hoping that he will be reelected as president. Well, she has news for them. This ain't no game to her, and the last thing in the world she is doing is messing around. Chutkan just ruled that Trump has no immunity from prosecution, and that means this ridiculous group of lawyers is going to go to trial against Jack Smith. And that means Trump is going to jail. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon and very soon. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.